India is in a 2.5 front war. The half refers to the internal threats and internal challenges faced by Bharat. And the biggest criticism in certain quarters of the Modi government has been that is it doing enough on that point half front, which is a massive national security threat. A petition has been filed in the Supreme Court, and the claims in that petition are startling because they answer every question had by anybody. Is Modi Sarkar doing enough on the internal threat we are facing? We are in war times. We are having a full-scale war with Pakistan. I say full-scale very carefully because it started when we suspended the Indus Water Treaty, which is a red line for Pakistan. Today also Pakistan is pleading, please resume the water flow. Please resume the treaty. That is also an issue for international law. But I am talking about the Supreme Court case where it is being said by petitioners that Rohingyas were rounded up and thrown in the ocean. I will come to the claims made. I will come to the arguments made. I will come, most importantly, to the arguments made by the government of India. And then, what did the Honorable Supreme Court decide? Some previous orders and the order on that day, because all of it has vital bearing on India's capacity to tackle internal challenges. But let's recall, let's remember, let's not forget, whatever you do, you have to be conscious that it is not only Pakistan with which we are in a war. Our borders are also under siege, under threat, if illegal migration occurs without any control. Demography is destiny. The entire demography can be changed if the entire region comes and lives in Bharat. And that's a national security threat on multiple levels. It's an economic threat. They take the jobs from the poorest of poor, from the daily wages, from people who are on part-time jobs. That's the initial job. They are a drain on our health resources. They also get facilities. They also go to clinics. They are a drain on our education system. They are a drain on our welfare activities, our welfare policies, our welfare doles. They are a threat, most importantly, on national security. Some of them can be active agents of their countries, acting detrimental to the interests of Bharat. End of the day, they are not citizens. There are two categories in India: citizens and illegal immigrants. This is on illegal immigrants. First, understand the claim made in the Supreme Court. The claim made in the petition is that Rohingyas were rounded up. They were told that their biometrics are being done. But the families claim, to the utter shock of the families, the detainees were not released after the biometric collection. Instead, they were transported to airport and flown to Port Blair in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Later, they were forcibly put on naval ships with their hands tied, their eyes blindfolded. They remained in that condition throughout the journey. Children as young as 15, females, minors, senior citizens, and people suffering from cancer and other ailments were among those abandoned into the sea without regard to their life or safety. Now, let's just pause here. This is a claim made in the Honorable Supreme Court. It's not been discussed in the media. It's not been discussed by the government. But whenever you file a petition in the Honorable Supreme Court, there is an affidavit you have to file. The claims you have to make have to be true. Otherwise, the court can take action against a petitioner making false claims. Let's see what the court will decide. That is ahead in the video. But people who say Modi Sarkar is not taking any action, this is what Rohingyas are claiming is the action. Just imagine what US does with people who illegally come into United States. They are handcuffed, they are thrown out. Recently, a case went to the Supreme Court of US also, where a person who was deported, the Supreme Court said you should not have done that. Bring him back and then you have to do it as per law or some other steps. The President Trump is obviously taking on the Supreme Court there. The president of the country where they send that illegal immigrant is saying, no, I cannot release him. He is a threat to US and he's a criminal. So every democracy, when you try to deport people, it goes to courts, because a lot of people ask this question, why are these matters going to court? They go to court. What matters is what the court decides. Because if you live in democracy, disputes will go to court. The alternate is living in a totalitarian state, which I don't think so any one of us want. So what did the court decide? That is vital. Who has the right to live in India? That is vital. The laws, according to me, are clear. But the arguments were, of course, of sympathy in the court. The arguments were that children are being separated from mothers. The argument being made, the claims being made is this, that detainees were then asked, you want to go to Myanmar or Indonesia? Fearing for their life, they pleaded, do not deport us to Myanmar. Leave us in Indonesia. Then they say the authorities allegedly deceived them and binding their hands and feet, abandoned them in international water under a false assurance that somebody would escort them to Indonesia. Left stranded, the refugees were forced to swim to a nearby shoreline using the life jackets provided. Upon arrival, they were devastated to discover they had reached Myanmar. Now, what is effective policing? Very often when you have to take action, I'm not talking about this case, on criminals who are able to organize violent mobs. We saw what happened when CA was to be implemented, when the law was passed, Delhi riots, the entire chain of events. So police very often tries to smoothly do it, professionally do it. They will say, please come to the police station, nothing will happen. Please come here, nothing will happen. Please come there, nothing will happen. That is good policing as long as the actions they take are under law. You can't tell them, we are going to jail you, arrest you. There will be mob violence. So, this is the claim made in the petition. And the question which everybody asked, what are we doing on the illegal immigration? Those who want strong borders, they ask that. This is what is being done as per the Rohingyas themselves. Then what was argued? The argument was led by senior advocate Colin Gonsalves and Mr. Prashant Bhushan advocate. They alleged that this is alarming. This is a complete overreach, that this is illegal, that this should not be allowed, that Myanmar is not accepting the refugees back because they are considered stateless citizens. So what was the prayer before the court? This will stun you. The audacity to have prayers like this, according to me. You give your view on the prayer. First, let's hear what the Solicitor General argued, and then we'll come to what the Supreme Court decided. The Solicitor General argued that India is not a party to Refugee Convention. The Solicitor General pointed out order dated 8th April 2021, passed by a 3-judge bench of the court, refusing to grant relief in a plea challenging the detention of Rohingya refugees in Jammu and the move to deport them back to Myanmar. The order had noted that the rights guaranteed under Article 1421 are available to all persons who may or may not be citizens, but the right not to be deported is ancillary or concomitant to the right to reside or settle in any part of the territory of India guaranteed under Article 19. In simple language, right to reside in India is only for Indian citizens. Clear, crystal. But what happened in this hearing is important. What was the argument of Solicitor General? That we are not signatories to these refugee conventions. And anyways, why don't you, all these European countries, take them? They have big land masses. They have aging population. If you want Rohingyas, please take them. Why don't? There are so many other nations. Take them. If you want to. Why do you want to keep sending them to Bharat? That is the vital question. And Bharat is becoming firm on this. As per them, is tying them in handcuffs and leaving them on the shore with life jackets. Must be 10 meters, 20 meters, 30 meters. That's the claim in the Supreme Court. It's the prayers, because I found them peculiarly audacious to have this prayer. The prayer, first prayer, that they be that Union of India to forthright take steps to fly the said Rohingyas back to New Delhi, India, from wherever they are, and to release them from custody. So we, in midst of a war with Pakistan, should fly illegal immigrants from Rohingya to India. They don't stop there. The second prayer was not to arrest or take into custody any Rohingya with UNHCR card, to treat them with etc. etc. I stop here. Because the Solicitor General has clearly enunciated the factual position. India is not a signatory to this convention. India doesn't have to follow this convention. You're not a party to it. The third prayer. Now they are seeking 50 lakh rupees compensation. Imagine the audacity. 50 lakh rupees. You come to India illegally. You take resources of Bharat by breaking the law. You are already a criminal if you come to India by breaking the law without visa, without the appropriate travel documents. Then after committing crime, when you're caught and you're deported on expense of Indian government, we taxpayers are footing that expense also, and we're very glad to foot it if that happens. But on that expense, then when you go back, you now ask that you be given a compensation of 50 lakh rupees. This is the state of affairs. But anyways, as I said, what is important, what is of vital significance is what did the Honorable Supreme Court decide? Nothing. No interim relief was given. Simpliciter a date was given. That means, because in the first hearing it's very important. You can have interim directions to fly them back. You can have interim directions that nobody with a card will be deported, arrested, whatever. You can have interim directions of guidelines to be laid down. You can have interim directions in which certain compensation to family members, usually that's not an interim direction, but there are various sorts of interim directions to be passed. That is why the first, second hearings are very important. Nothing doing. The case, whatever the claims made, whatever the sympathetic grounds urged, families, minors, old, nothing. Just a date in July when the matter will come up. So the threat to Bharat of illegal immigration is being dealt by the Modi Sarkar, is being dealt as is the duty of the government to deal with it. And the petitioners, no matter what the claims, did not get any relief from the Honorable Supreme Court.